Are you or someone you know looking to buy or sell a home? When you use a HomeGain Realtor to buy or sell a home, you can get $150. Visit HomeGain.com and click on the Promo 150 banner at the top of the page to get started. Compare HomeGain Realtors and choose your favorite. Complete your home purchase or sale transaction with a HomeGain Realtor, and HomeGain will pay you $150. Get started today by going to HomeGain.com. Welcome back, everyone, to Real Estate 360 Live. I'm your host, Ryan Sloper, joined today by my guest, Louis Cammarosano, the general manager of HomeGain. Quick reminder, Real Estate 360 is designed to build the Washington, D.C. Metro's housing and credit markets one house at a time. If you ever have any questions, concerns, or real estate needs, the best number to reach out to us is 877-245-2030. That's 877-245-2030, or you can go via the web at realestate360live.com. That's realestate360live.com. So I want to jump back and finish up where we left off last segment, discussing the Fed President John Williams, the last comments that he had made in there as far as if further action is called for. He was saying that the most effective tool would be additional purchase of longer maturity securities, including agency mortgage-backed securities. These purchases have proven effective in lowering borrowing costs and improving financial conditions. At the Fed, we take our dual mandate with the utmost seriousness. This is a period when extraordinary vigilance is demanded. We stand ready to do what is necessary to attain our goals of maximum employment and price stability. A strong push for QE3 is basically, he's one of the members that's pushing hard for that. I think it's interesting because it's just, I don't know, I feel like they have this dual mandate, but the only thing that they really know how to do is basically put more money into the system. That's it. And I really don't think that anything's going to change between now and 2014, other than just putting more money, letting interest rates maybe go lower. But I just don't know. Like I said, these rates aren't going to be passed on to consumers if they tend to go lower. The banks are just going to keep those margins to beef up their profit, their profit margins.
Since when are 12 independent bankers, or how many Federal Reserve boards there are, in charge of employing people in the country?
You got me.
If you think about it, it doesn't make any sense for them to be in charge of making sure people have jobs.
No. But it seems like they've been given the authority to figure out everything in this country at this point.
They've been given control of the money supply as well.
Yeah.
They figured through the manipulation of the money supply and interest rates, somehow that's going to create employment, and we've seen it certainly creates riches for the banks. Not sure it creates full employment though.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of questions from listeners lately. They're like, well, what do you think's going to happen? I mean, I've heard a lot of talk about the Fed and the Fed lowering interest rates. It's this continuous media that's been pushed out there to people that the Fed is really, they're able to control the market, and that, hey, the Fed's going to make interest rates go lower, so maybe I should hold off on buying or refinancing my loan. And what I try to explain to everybody, yeah, they are artificially manipulating the market, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to translate to, 2% 30-year fixed rate mortgages. I know that, I think everybody is spoiled at this point where interest rates are, that everybody's like, wow, there's such great interest rates, 3.5%.
You pointed out at some point the banks just won't lend the money at that rate.
Well, and they're starting to now, Louis. That's exactly what my point was, is that at some point they make a decision where it's kind of like, you know what, these are already great interest rates. Why don't we just hold, the margin that's there and take that as profit to us, and the consumer's still going to be happy with the rate. That's what's going on. So
you've also seen how banks are much more profitable through their trading operations than they are through lending money.
Yeah, I mean, why would you want to lend out at 3% when your goal at least would be to want to strive for something around 6 or 7. I mean, that's typically where you would think that interest rates on the 30-year mortgage might be, maybe 5.5%, 6.5%, and even at those rates, it's a great buy. And it's interesting because you and I have talked over probably the last 6 months to a year about this whole rental situation. And the people that are renting, how they're going to be at some point put in a predicament where it's like, all right, yeah, we're not looking to buy because we don't want to buy, but the rental prices are increasing, substantially, especially in the major metropolitan areas. I just want to give an example. This is just in a neighborhood that I live in. I'm just looking because I'm getting ready to move to a different area. Like I said, I basically practicing what I'm preaching, and I made the decision that I want to move into the house that I want to live in for the next 20 years because of where interest rates are. I made the decision to do so. I'm going to rent my current house out as an investment property. Well, 6 months ago, I was looking at the comparables in the neighborhood for what they were renting for. They were probably around anywhere from $1,800 to $1,900. I did the same exact comparative analysis 6 months later. I'm now at $2,150 to $2,200. That's almost a 17 to 18% increase in 6 months. Now, what's causing that? A very low supply of homes. There's a very low supply of rentals on the market, and there's a very low supply of actual homes for sale in the market.
And there's also an increase in demand of people who are viewing renting as something better than buying and getting a mortgage and being foreclosed on.
Absolutely. And
so
you
they're
also
willing to pay a premium.
And you also, Louis, have the influx of people who are coming out of the distress situation, so they short sold their home or they were foreclosed upon. They can't buy again, so they have to rent.
Or even just some people who aren't even in either of those situations that just cannot get the loan that they want.
Yeah, so with all that demand, not enough homes on the market, the prices are shooting through the roof.
The rental prices.
The rental prices, yeah, the rental prices. But I'm actually, in the D.C. metro area, we are seeing the house prices shoot through the roof as well. Multiple contracts on most of these homes. Mm-hmm. So overall, and like I said, this is not necessarily true for the overall national picture, but in the major metropolitan areas, I think that this is something that's somewhat consistent.
You see, the unintended consequences of all this is the people that are going to buy homes are going to be investors, and they're the ones who are going to benefit from buying the homes at prices at which they can therefore rent them out at higher and higher prices.
Right. You're exactly right, and especially, and then that was what I was going to get at. Here in the D.C. metro area, we have investors that are basically trying to buy up properties hand over fist, as many as they can get their hands on, because they see these nice cap rates on what they can make as even if they're turning around and buying a property and having to put 20 or 25% down and their interest rate's a little bit higher because it's an investment property. So let's say it's 4.5% instead of 3.5%. What do they care? They don't care. 4.5% is phenomenal. I mean, even if they were paying 5 or 6, they can still make the numbers work. They're going to hold on to that property. They're going to put a renter in there, and then they're going to raise their rent every year.
And these are people, unlike banks, that can't make trillions of dollars trading securities.
I know.
This is just a good return that they can make by buying homes and renting them out.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of studies that have shown that years ago they like to try to keep that housing percentage of income to what the housing is around 30% of your income, and now they've seen that it's starting to move up to 30 to 35% of their income, especially in these major metropolitan areas. And I think that this is a trend that's going to continue. Now, this isn't for me to sit here and lecture you guys to say, hey, go out and buy a house today. I'm not saying it because it's not for everybody, but what I am saying is that you need to be cognizant of the fact that the rentals, if you're renting your home right now, that your landlord, at the end of your lease, can just all of a sudden just raise it up $200 or $300 or $400 on you.
And conversely, if you have that 30-year fixed interest rate, stays the same month after month.
Yeah, for 30 years. The only thing that you have to worry about is, the basic maintenance on the house. You have to worry about your taxes potentially going up or down based upon the tax rate that they assess your home out every year, and your homeowner's insurance. Those are really the only things that are going to change there. But the actual fact that you get to know that your mortgage is going to stay the same for that extended period of time, and you can protect your family. You have protected your family because you're not going to have to worry if somebody loses a job or takes a pay cut, that you might not be able to make your ends meet because landlord doesn't care that you lost your job and they're going to raise it up and kick you out.
Especially if there's someone else ready to take it because there's demand.
And there is, yeah. The demand is through the roof right now, especially because there's a lot of jobs. In the D.C. metro area, people are moving here from all over the country. I mean, Minnesota, just, areas where the jobs aren't as plentiful. So to couple, just the demand that we have, and then you have all this outside demand with people being flushed into this D.C. metropolitan Northern Virginia area, creates even more demand. It really is. I mean, I've started to see over the last 3 or 4 or 5 months, I mean, this real estate market in this area is on fire. Absolutely on fire. And who's going to basically pay the price? I think that the biggest price is going to be the people that are renting. Now, like I said, that doesn't mean that just because you're renting, you have to go buy a house. If you're planning on, if you're transit, you're moving all over the country, you don't plan on staying here very long, then it might not be for you. But you know what? It might be for you to buy an investment property. It might be. Because if you lay out the numbers, you could end up having a positive cash flow of a couple $100 a month just coming off of that. The best thing I always tell people, and a lot of people say, well, I don't know too much about investing in real estate. Sometimes it helps to just sit down with a professional that can go over the options with you. I know a lot of people now that have actually said, you know what, I don't want to be so heavily invested into, the stock markets and whatnot. I want to invest in real estate. Well, just like I was telling people they can take and borrow against their 401k to refinance down to levels where they can take out a new mortgage at the current interest rates, you can do the same thing for investment properties. If you wanted to go buy one and you wanted to borrow some money from your 401k to put down as a down payment, 20 or 25%, and do that so you could, have some nice consistent rental income coming in. People are doing this all day long right now. And I think that it's finally because they're like, wow, they're watching these rental prices just go up and up and up. And they're like, I want to take advantage of that too. That's a far cry from where we were, 6-7 years ago, Louis, when everyone wanted to buy the investment property to turn around and flip it and sell it a day later.
Right. They were looking for the price appreciation on the house.
Exactly. And that's no longer, while you might get that over the long haul, you're going to get a little bit of price appreciation, but you're also going to lose some here and there too. In the last, the housing bust that we had, in certain areas, you lost pretty much 50% of your home's value. So now smart investing is I just want to make that consistent rate of return. I'm not looking to get rich by turning around and flipping this house tomorrow. Now, can you find those deals? Sure, you can find them. But I think it's a more solid approach if you take into consideration that you can borrow money if you can qualify. Obviously, that's the big caveat there. If you can qualify. And if you can't qualify right now, if you're trying to buy your first home or you're trying to figure out if you have the capacity to buy an investment property, the best thing you can do is to reach out to a professional that can look at your overall financial situation, find out what your short and long-term goals are, and try to establish a good plan that will help you moving forward. 877-245-2030. When we come back, we're going to jump into Europe and what they must do to avoid the brink of collapse that the U.S. basically had almost 4 years ago when we come back.